Last time I ever watched Morning Joe. Period.
You know, it was only 2 weeks ago today that Joe Scarborough was calling Donald Trump a fascist. And I was grateful for that because he had the courage to do that when the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN and NPR did not face the fascism at the door. And now it's inside and he goes and visits. And what's so upsetting about that is obviously I've identified myself now as a liberal. And NBC was kind of all we had. The New York Times and the Washington Post has angered liberals tremendously through the coverage. CNN tries to be balanced and do this. MSNBC was the last liberal outpost of media. And I know you might start laughing at me. The New York Times and the Washington Post are liberal. We'll disagree about that. But MSNBC was that. And there was no good reason to go and pay obeisance in advance. Nothing journalistic came out of this visit. They came and it was all off the record. Oh, we're going to ask him for an interview. Well, obviously Trump's going to want the airtime. That's fine. No value came. And they went on bended knee. And it was, I think, in the end, a betrayal of the staff at MSNBC who do still criticize Donald Trump, who now feel that they are in some jeopardy because of that, because he has threatened the press. And so I think that it was a bad moment for Joe and Mika. And I'm going to think that MSNBC for me starts about 4 p.m.
Meanwhile.
And I will say also, I just want to say thank you, first of all, to everybody who was so kind last night, but also thank you. Willie, yesterday I saw for the first time what a massive disconnect there was between social media and the real world, because we were flooded with phone calls from people all day, literally around the world. Very positive, very supportive, going, understand what you do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But once in a while, I would get a text or a call from someone and go, oh, man, I hope you're doing okay. And I call him back and I go, well, Eddie Glaude was one of them. I go, Eddie, are you on Twitter? And he goes, I am. I go, okay, well, I'm not. So we've had a good day. Mika just had a wonderful event. It is fantastic. We're going to do all of us are going to do the best we can do, and we're all working towards a better America.
Take it day by day.
Day by day. And again, you can predict the future by shaping the future.
Yes, these guys are gradually going off air. He spent a lot of time calling Trump names and it is backfiring. When you take a look at this article, you can clearly see what is going on. His ratings are tanking, especially the day he announced he had an interview with Trump. And from my notice, they want to set off this place. They are now panicking that a lot of these people will be fired. People are questioning that. Because of rating draw, why would they take up a decision to do that? The Trump effect is serious. This Joe said on one video before the election that there is no grounds that you will see him agreeing with Trump.
She gets sick and tired of me trying to understand other people and being so pragmatic and trying to be like, I'm okay, you're okay. Now, where can we meet in the middle? La, la, la. On this question, we're past that. You can't meet. If they voted for Trump in 16, whatever. They voted for Trump in 20, they knew exactly what they were doing. If they vote for Donald Trump in 2024, and I've said it on my show, I'll say it here, they're knowingly voting for a fascist. They're voting for a racist. They're voting for somebody that wants to put this country 200 years in the back. And so I'm not trying to figure them out. I'm trying to figure out how we get people out who love democracy, who love freedom, who love the rights of all Americans, how to get them to the voting booth. Because that's how we save our country.
You heard him. He was vowing, we cannot go back to that. Calling Trump, and people were applauding. A few weeks after, he is now bending the knee to Trump. That is to tell you, God cannot stand people like this. At a certain point, I appreciated him for realizing his mistakes, though he was wise, thinking that going back to Trump would drag a lot of people to watch his show. It is not working. And this morning, he acknowledged that a lot is going wrong. People are not watching MSNBC again. Everybody has gone. And they are now panicking that they will be fired.
Research shows 1 in 5 adults regularly get their news from influencers on social media. The number is even higher among younger Americans, with almost 40% under the age of 30 getting their news from those sources. According to the Pew Research Center, the social media site X remains the most widely accessed platform, followed by Instagram and YouTube.
I mean, that comes obviously for political news. And Mike, that's the challenge. You grew up in a newsroom like Gene grew up in a newsroom. I mean, that's a lot of challenge. That's a challenge for a lot of mainstream media sources is, do they make themselves relevant again to here 20% of adults who actually get influencers on social media?
I don't know
maybe somebody who makes baskets, and while they're making baskets, they look up and say, vote for candidate X.
I don't know how we make ourselves relevant again, because we can't compete with 20-second snippets on an iPhone, walking up the street,
Morsels.
getting your entire news digest of the day in less than a minute on your phone as you're walking under the crowd.
Scarborough, who famously warned of the growing threat of Trump's fascism, also had an interesting announcement. Tap out, tap out. But look, we don't know what the visit was. We don't know what the tone of the visit was. And Mika, go to Mar-a-Lago.
I'm glad the media never forget. This is the record of these people doing this to Trump throughout the years. Now they want to do this. When you take a look at this article recently put out by Fox News, MSNBC staffers lashed out at Morning Joe co-host meeting with Trump. Disgusting, but frankly unsurprising. When you go down the article, MSNBC staffers are lashing out at Morning Joe co-hosts Joe and Mika after they shock their liberal viewers by revealing their recent Mar-a-Lago meeting with Trump. Called this, one MSNBC employee reacted to Fox News Digital doing exactly what anti-Trump historian team warned on our air not to do. Obey in advance is disgusting but frankly unsurprising. The source said MSNBC rank and file are now largely thankful of the network Morningstar, saying it feels like they are just opportunistic. You can clearly see the meltdown is not stopping. Sonia Austin had this to say, particularly this situation. You know her, she would say some ridiculous things just to...
Are you talking?
Well,
Okay.
look, I think that we have to be very clear-eyed when we think about the president-elect and cover the president-elect. And I don't think you need to sit down for 90 minutes at Mar-a-Lago and...
Absolutely ridiculous pair.
Let's forget about what they have been doing to Trump. I understand they are the same people, but in that lie, they did the right thing. They want to go back into their old ways, how they used to report. They may have made mistakes in the past.
country, but they voted for Kamala Harris.
But there was a split, and more of them voted for Donald Trump than had historically. I think that there's such a desire. If you really think the vast majority of this country voted because of racism and misogyny, you're missing it.
309, Tulsi Gabbard added to Donald Trump's cabinet. Also with a
theory that a lot of people seem to be coalescing around.
They were too woke, insisting that people use the term Latinx.
You have to say they. No, you have to do this.
Stop with the virtue signaling.
Step away from woke. Focus less on who is woke and more on who is broke.
I've never seen that.
I saw so many liberals getting super excited every time Kamala had a new celebrity endorsement. But we all know for a fact that these celebrity endorsements are not free.
Oh, is it true that they paid you $1 million for the endorsement for Kamala?
Not true.
Now it's time to unite everybody.
I want you to know what would change after doing this.
comes out against Trump.
I don't care if they write that.
So, with that, I'm going to shake it off.
Figure out a way to say thank you.
That guy's name, he's such an absolute prick. I can't stand him. But anyway,
Hey there. Not doing great.
Terrible night last night. It was a terrible night.
What will the rest of us be doing on day one?
Bishop Vigano, he says that
Color. I was so hopeful.
On screen. Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note.